Hello, my lovely 3A people. How are we today? Welcome to the first Friday of this digital learning thing. I know it's Friday, but it feels like every day this week has just perpetually felt like a Sunday. I don't know if you guys have felt the same way or that's just me, but yeah. How's everyone doing today? Nicole, Lucas, Jenna, Jennifer, welcome all. Marisa is here. Ashton, are we supposed to look forward to the weekend? That's a great question, man. I don't know. I want to say yes, but like, what the heck are you gonna do? I don't know. Normally, I would say absolutely, but even I'm like, I guess I can sit at home longer. I don't want to be locked in my home anymore. Jenna, I hear you. Um, well, the weather let up a little bit. It looks like it's cloudy outside, but at least it's not rainy. Go for a walk. Like, stretch the legs. Get out of the house. Go around the neighborhood. Like you can be outside. You just can't be in large gatherings of people. So get a chance to stretch those legs a little bit. I did a trail hike the other day. I forget the name, but it was 2.5 miles, and it took an hour, and it was great being outside and move the legs. Trust me, being inside, I'm fighting the urge to snack consistently, and miss being active. And you forget how much you move during the day, guys. During our studio projects, when we were in there, I was averaging 3.5 miles in my school day just being in the studio and control room all day with all my classes. Christian, Kayshawn, Tristan, welcome. We'll give another minute for some folks to show up. But remember, as always, these streams are replayable, so if you do show up a little bit late and miss some stuff, then you can always go back and check them out. Today's we're going to try and keep quick, because I don't have too much to touch upon from the assignment, the news assignment, but the next assignment, the next project we have is a little logistically confusing. So I want to make sure that we spend time to go over that, because we're going to mix it up a little bit. Allison and Haley, good morning and welcome. Okay, check out my stream here. Stream is healthy. So one of the things I've learned in doing this is that if I switch up to like a graphic or something or go to my desktop, anytime I'm not like on cam or I'm doing a presentation, it tends to crap out a little bit. So I'm going to just try it a little bit differently today. So I apologize if it's harder to see some things. In just making sure we get through stuff. It froze last time, and I am able to stop and restart. So I'm hoping not to have to do that today. Yes, Shane, that was one of my announcements for today, is that we're going to do a shooting project today, which I'm excited for. But I did get word from our tech office that Adobe is making some of its stuff free for students. If you, like at home, if you have a license already, which you guys do as part of the school. So I'm working on putting together a very small survey to go out to all my classes. Just a couple questions that pertain to what you have access to at home. Most notably, like if you have streaming services, and if so, which. And then if we have access to a computer at home that's not your Chromebook, because if Adobe makes itself free for students with a license, you should be able to download Adobe Premiere at home and log in using your school credentials and it'll work fine, I think up to a certain point. It doesn't work on Chromebooks though, so that's part of the reason for that survey. The other reason is as we're most likely right now approaching the end of our broadcast news unit, there is something that I wanted to have you guys watch. It's a film. It's a little bit longer, and while I can rip it and put it up on Drive for you, I know that's illegal. So I'm going to see if it's available on some streaming services, but that's all coming down the pipeline. Just wanted to remind folks that if you didn't get your assignment turned in for the news critique, please do so as soon as possible. Moving into next week, I'm going to start, and after talking with some teachers and having some department meetings already, I actually have one today at 1 o'clock. We're going to start shifting towards the policy of if assignments are coming in late, then they will be for half credit. And that's just to make sure that people are on top of what it is they're supposed to be doing and checking in on the live streams. Like there's 12 of us here right now, which we're missing 10 people in this class. So they're going to be a little bit more confused when they get to this assignment. And so there is flexibility in when you can do stuff, and I'm giving a large leeway of time for this project, given that it's a little bit different and we're testing the waters a little bit. So just be ready for that policy change next week, and I'll mention it again when we chat next week. All services going to be free, like Lightroom. My understanding is it's going to be the same as what you'd have access to at school, but I'm not entirely sure. I didn't get the specifics yet from our tech department, so I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work, Shane. But it's possible that you'll have access to that stuff. All right. So I'm hoping, all right, and just to, in an effort, Jesse, hello and welcome, to not take up too much of your time today. I have 8 assignments of the news critique, which means I'm missing 14. So if you're here and you're one of those 8, thank you. If you're here and you're one of those 14, all right, get that to me by the end of the weekend, okay? Otherwise, it'll trickle into next week where you'll get partial credit for it. So make sure we get that in. Now, for the 8 people that are here, I'm just kind of curious if you can answer in the chat one general question, and I'm just curious if you had, generally speaking, like, was it difficult for you to watch an hour of news? But at the conclusion of that hour, did you feel more informed, about the same, or less informed than you were prior? I'll pause for a second. I'll pause for a second so you answer that question while I answer Lucas's question. Lucas, if you don't have an extra computer at home, don't sweat. All right, that's why I want to know what people have at home. I'm also looking at a online video editor that will work on Chromebooks. So there's an option there, and anything I assign wouldn't be super edit intensive. So yeah, don't be nervous if you don't have a computer at home that you'd be able to install Premiere on. All right, we may not even exercise that option. So we'll see. Everything was about coronavirus. Not surprising, which was boring. I can't watch the news. I space out real quick. Yeah, we're at an interesting crossroads in our society for this assignment. But what just, and I haven't gone through the assignments yet. Everything will be graded and posted over the course of the weekend. What news stations did you folks watch? Did you get a chance to tune into anything local? Weather was the best part. Well, it is officially spring now, so happy spring to everybody. My dad up north got 7 inches of snow yesterday, so happy spring to him too. Okay, so outside of it being very similar story-wise across the board, did you still feel that you were a little bit more informed at the end of that, or as informed as you were going in, or less? So more, same, less. Let me know in the chat. NBC, ABC 7. Okay. Yeah, I hope the links I put up on Classroom were helpful. Someone emailed me, and so I was able to find those. Those were the only two I came across that actually streamed live, which was great. Marissa, more informed. Jesse, spacing out was the best part. Not good, dude. You got to focus. Anybody else with their level of information gone up, down, same? No one answering, huh? Well, my goal in having you do that assignment was to challenge you a little bit in actively participating in watching the news for that extended period of time. Coming out on the other end, at my last class, no one came out less informed, which was the goal, of course. But everyone had expressed the same difficulty in finding it hard to watch, right, for that duration and on the topics that they were discussing. And so I just want you to think about that difficulty for a second. Myself included, and maybe some of your other history or civics teachers have talked about what it takes to be an active, informed citizen. It's your responsibility to be knowledgeable about what's going on in your country, in your area, and the world. And so think about the difficulty it took for you guys to sit for an hour and watch and learn about things that were going on in our area, in our country, and the world. Being an informed citizen is not something you can always do passively. And so it does take active participation. And active participation in this case was sitting down and watching TV for an hour and tuning into the news. So think about that for a second when it comes to what it takes to be a good global citizen. Okay. Also, even if you came out marginally more informed than you were before, you are doing your responsibility and are being that better person, which is a good thing to do. All right. So if you haven't gotten through that assignment yet, all right, we want to make sure that we get that in before the weekend. Again, otherwise it'll be partial credit starting next week. Okay. Now I want to transition to, all right, our next assignment, okay, which is going to be a little bit longer, but it's going to be a little bit more involved. All right. It's nothing that I know you guys can't do. All right. And it's nothing that I know you guys haven't done to some degree already. All right. Logistically, there's just some stuff that I wanted to explain to make sure that it was clear. So, I'm going to bounce on over to my desktop here. But as I've learned earlier today, that when I go full screen with this, it tends to slow down. So I'm going to leave this just like this to make sure that I can bounce between windows to make sure that everyone's still here. All right, I don't want to have to explain things more than once, and I don't want to shortchange you guys on an explanation if I'm doing it the second or third time. So stream status is still excellent. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little at-home shooting, okay? It's going to be centered around the news, but I want it to be arguably a little bit more personable, all right? Because this is something I'm going to want to get out to, well, people in our school district. So, and this, of course, will be put on Classroom, all right? Can I zoom in just so it's a little bit easier to see, or no? A little bit. That'll help a little. Screw the picture. Okay, so as a class, we're going to be putting together a news show collectively. All right, each of you are going to be in charge of writing 3 stories to report. All right, and that should say tape. That's my fault. All right, and you're going to tape yourself using your phones. All right, I figured that'd be the easiest way to shoot some video. For the end of the assignment, you're going to upload both your stories and video to Google Drive so that you can turn them in to the Google Classroom assignment post. I'm going to take that video and then assemble it together to form one long edit. Okay? Bounce back real quick. Okay. So, we're going to try and have some fun with it a little bit. Part of the classroom post that went up, in addition to the assignment, in addition to this presentation I'm going through now, all right, is a screenshot of our class roster. So we're going to deliver the news in the order in which our roster goes, which is the same order in which you guys sit in class. Okay, so the first person on the list and the last person on the list are going to have a little bit of extra legwork as far as introducing our show and closing the show, but I've scripted that for those people. So if you're one of those people on the top or bottom of the list, don't worry, I've got the word tracks in the next slide. Okay, for everybody else in the middle, you're going to thank the person that came before you and then pass it on to the person that goes after you. All right, and my goal in doing this is that as far as the edit goes, Ryan would be our first person, and he's going to pass it to Nick. So Ryan would do his intro, go through his 3 stories, and then pass his news desk on to Nick, who would then thank Ryan, read his news stories, and pass it on to who comes after him, which I believe is Luke. So here's the word track that you can use for yourself. Okay. All right, so the first person, in this case Ryan, is going to introduce our show. All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Home News Network. I'm lead anchor Ryan Ahorn, and here with you with some news for a TV production project that has probably been long outdated. And he's going to get into his stories. All right. At the end of his last story, he's going to say, "Now with more, here's," and whoever comes next. All right. That person will then, "Thank you, so-and-so," read their 3 stories. "Now with more, here's so-and-so." So it's kind of like we're passing the baton from person to person. All right, the last person is going to thank the person that came before them, read their 3 stories, and then close our show by saying, "That will do it for today. On behalf of all of us here at Home News Network, good night and good luck." All right, so those word tracks you can take verbatim, all right, to make sure that you don't have to like script your thanks and your pass along or your intro or outro if you're first or last. All right. Now, as far as the stories go, I want to try and keep them light. So we're going to do 3. All right. 2 of which are based in real news that you can find from a source of your choosing. All right. It might be tough, but in an ideal world, neither of those stories are going to have to do with coronavirus. But knowing that that might be really challenging, okay, try and have only one of them be about the coronavirus in some capacity. All right. It would be nice if the other one or both of them could be a soft news story, something a little lighthearted, maybe something entertainment related, sports related, like something that's not, we're all inundated with coronavirus. And if I want to share this with people in the district, I think, talking about things that aren't about that could be really great. So within those 2 stories, we're going to keep to our word count to make sure the time lines up. All right, so one of those stories is going to be a 30 to 35 word story. One of those stories is going to be a 65 to 75 word story. That should give us 15 seconds and 30 seconds. The third story is not really going to be a story at all. All right, I want you guys, in a effort to kind of harmonize with some folks at school, give a professional on-camera shout out to somebody at Raritan High School. All right, but I want it to be as encompassing as possible. So we're not going to shout out a friend that you might see or talk to every day. I want you to shout out a teacher whose class that you miss, or an entire class, because not only do you miss the teacher or the class, but you miss everyone in that class. You can give a shout out to a coach or a sports team or a club that you're a part of, a principal or vice principal, the nurse, a guidance counselor, your favorite lunch lady, whoever it may be. we just kind of want to try and harmonize a little bit of our situation and just let people know that we're thinking about them. I don't care so much about the word count for this, but you do want to make sure that it is scripted and you're not shooting from the hip. All right, because even though it's scripted, it's still going to be genuine, but it will read and look a little bit better. So I'm going to pause here for a second before I get into the video stipulations, just to see if anybody has any questions. So I'll pause now for questions. If you have questions, throw them out in the chat. Banana reflection, I'll go back and check. Remember, things that are turned in late, I don't get notified for, so I won't know that it's been turned in, but I'll go back and look. In fact, I'll write it down now. I'm going to pause another 30 seconds for questions before we move into the video stipulations. Marissa, yes, you are going to be recording all 3 stories as one video take. So I'll show you how you can kind of set that up at home in a makeshift way to make it easier on yourself. Ashton, what is the due date? Good question. So understanding that this is going to be our first endeavor shooting video at home and uploading some stuff and with a little writing, right? That's our pre-production. The due date is going to be the start of not next class, but the class after. So next week is a B week. I would see you guys twice, which means this needs to be finished, completed, uploaded, and turned into Google Classroom by the start of class on Thursday. All right, so when you go to turn things in on Classroom, you need to turn in both the written stories, all right, formatted correctly for the teleprompter and for proofing, as well as the video clip. All right, good questions. I'll talk about the video stipulations now. Okay, so the 3 stories that you're going to read, all right, in addition to your lead-in and send-off, should be between 60 to 90 seconds. All right, I would like you to use the rule of thirds in your shot, meaning you're going to be on one of the vertical lines, either the left or right side. All right, so if you have that grid turned on your phone, awesome, it'll help you line things up. The reason for that is that I might want to put graphics over your other shoulder, like an image or something, and so I would like that flexibility in order to do that. My recommendation is, and if you follow the my example here, I just set it up at home. In the Google Classroom post, I put links to the teleprompter software that camera operators you use for our news project. I've set it up so that I've got my phone set ready to record at the hinge of my computer with the teleprompter behind it so that I can press record, press play on my computer, and then stare at the teleprompter and read, and it'll look like I'm making pseudo eye contact with the camera. I did another test where I put my computer up against a wall and then put the my phone at the top lip of my computer and then leaned it against the wall. I had some issues because the lid of my computer is a little bit thinner, but I know the Chromebooks are a little bit thicker, so you might actually be able to rest it right on top of that screen as well. Either one would work, okay? And because I'm going to edit this, don't worry so much about the time in the beginning or the end, right? So if you press record and then kind of get adjusted and get in the frame and make sure you look good and then go, okay, great, I'm going to cut all that stuff out, all right? And at the end, just when you're finished, kind of pause for a second, stop recording, all right? And then you can take that clip and upload it. I'm going to trim the front and the end. So that was just a way that I did it so that it looked relatively decent, okay? If you want to dress up for it, right? So gentlemen, if you want to wear a shirt and tie, bonus points, okay? Ladies, you have way more flexibility in your attire, but if you wear something professional like a blouse, you know, I know it may seem silly to put on something for 60 seconds, but it helps sell that professionalism, okay? Bonus points as well. And while using your phone, you need to make sure that you are recording in landscape mode, okay? So you want to hold your phone this way. If you hold it this way, press record and then rotate it, it will not record in landscape. Okay, so you want to make sure your phone is horizontal, then press record. And if you do it like the image I have in there, then it's going to be in horizontal mode regardless. Okay, just make sure you're following the rule of thirds. Make sure there's good headroom. All right, and I mentioned it before, but we'll say it because it's here. All right, the video and the script should be uploaded no later than the start of class on Thursday. All right, which is 2 class sessions. So on Tuesday when we meet, it's going to be the stream did freeze. Look at that. That's fantastic. Despite the stream saying healthy. All right, we should be back here. Yeah, it says we're good. All right, but the message is saying it froze at 11:26. So did you guys catch the last little bit here? If someone can let me know. I can always repeat that last part. All right, so just to reiterate that last bit, all right, videos and script should be uploaded no later than the class start of class on Thursday, all right, which will span our second session. So on Tuesday when I would meet you, all right, we're going to pop into the chat for 10, maybe 15 minutes. It's going to be a let me know where you're at with your progress in the chat. If you have questions on things, if you want me to proof stories, if you want me to troubleshoot any issues you're having, you can let me know then. But then you can kind of bounce and go do your thing. If you have issues in between now and then, if you're doing this over the weekend, by all means, email me, put a post in the classroom. I'm more than happy to help over the course of the time in between we would normally meet. All right, but I still want to just make sure we're staying consistent and we pop in for a brief while on Tuesday. All right, but it's going to be a quick check-in, progress update, any questions, and then bounce. I'm going to hang here for another 2 or 3 minutes. Do you guys have any questions on the assignment as a whole? All right, so I'm going to make a presumption, no questions, but if you do over the course of the project, please reach out. All right, we're going to formally end for today. So if you want to leave, by all means, enjoy your weekend. Try and get outside, do something fun, do something exciting, or at least just move. Get away from the house, go breathe some fresh air, go for a walk, go for 10 walks, go for a bike ride, play some basketball with yourself, not with other people. Probably not going to have enough time to finish. Explain that, if you could. Gee, good question. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of stories that are probably going to be similar across the board. The one thing I'm going to look for is just to make sure that that there is an originality to that story, which is why I want you to submit the Google Doc with those stories in it, so I can check them against other stories. Obviously, if you and I, let's say, are writing about the same thing, we still might write about them differently. And so, I will be checking pretty heavily the, making sure we're not taking other people's work or stealing things directly from like the actual source. We want to make sure that it's 100% original. Why are you going to explode? There's no need to explode. I don't know who the real 201 is. You can name yourself. I want to make sure I address your question, but okay. Okay, well, you should be going outside and doing stuff, all right? But also remember that this is stuff that constitutes this is in replacement of a school day. So I don't know what other teachers are assigning, but that's why I'm also giving the 2 class sessions to work on this. And if you think about it, if we're meeting again on Thursday, you have almost a week to do. Oh, hey, Kayshawn, sorry. You have almost a week to do 2 simple news stories at 35 to 40 words or 65 to 70. So at most, you're looking at 120 words, which is really not a lot. And then your shout out, which is going to be about 8, 9, 10 seconds. So I understand the video component is just recording that. So if you take the time to write it correctly, recording it should be as simple as it takes 2 to 3 minutes. So I understand that it's a different type of work, but I want to make sure that the work I'm assigning kind of reflects what we would do in class a little bit. And so this is me testing the waters in doing the video portion. So my advice to you would be you have to budget time. All right. I know the weekend's coming up, and that's the time to say, okay, I can be outside and do stuff. And I don't want to say put off work, but, know that, hey, if we're done now, like arguably this class session would go another half an hour. Find your stories today. Just try and write some of them today. Part of the challenge in doing this at home is, of course, you have to manage your time maybe a little bit more diligently than you would normally do. And that's just the reality of where we are as I would say as a school, but as a country and world right now. So just try and set a schedule for yourself and stay on it. I know the work is different. And again, I can't speak to what other teachers are assigning. So that's why I gave the extended time. And if you really break it down, it's not too much. And then, of course, if you want me to check stuff or answer any questions you have along the way, reach out. But that's the best advice I can give you, Kayshawn. Especially given if today was a school day, we'd be in the middle of class right now for another 40 minutes. All right, so again, I'll hang here for a bit, but if we'll say we're formally done again. If you have questions, continue to drop them, but if you want to leave the chat, enjoy your time today, enjoy your weekend. We'll revisit very quickly at the start of next class. All right. So I'll hang back for questions, but I'm going to throw up that splash screen, and then we are out. Okay? Thank you for coming today, and we'll see you again on Tuesday. Adios.